My name is Tim Schilberger. I run LiveRead LA. This is our third year. This is our 21st LiveRead. You guys will clap at anything. Every 2 months, we run a screenwriting competition, and then we select 2 scripts to be read on this stage on a night like tonight, in front of an industry insider and you all and me, and then we give feedback to the writers. After the actors have done an amazing job. So then the idea is that we want to help the writer make the script better. So we're not about a showcase where it's like, this script will make you famous. It's like, no, let's sort of do some work here, as well as be entertained. So what happens is we're going to read 2 scripts, and after each script, the insider and I'm going to introduce her in a second, will come on stage and give feedback to the writer, and then we will ask for some feedback from you guys. And there are some rules which I'll go through in 1 second. But first, we have to get our clapping hands ready. Oba Mohammed is our insider tonight. Please welcome Oba. Oba is now the executive story editor for DC's Legends of Tomorrow on the CW network, which is awesome. I have been lucky enough to watch her rise from obscurity into being paid to be a writer. So I'm thrilled that she has the time to come and join us tonight. And then once we're done with the 2 scripts, we will be doing a quick Q&A, and the journey will be discussed, and you guys can ask some questions like, how do I get a job as a paid writer in TV? And Oba will say, I don't know. So we also want to thank the 2 writers. We have Brian and Jeff. Brian's over there. When I started with Oba at the Coronet Writers Lab, we've worked with a lot of writers, and we lost one recently, Sean Boxey, who was an insider for me at the end of 2017, I think. He was a lovely human being. He went from being with us to getting a job as a writer on Silicon Valley on HBO, which was nuts. And he passed, about a month ago, I think? May 10th. Yeah, so I just wanted to sort of notice and say thank you to Sean for his support of what we do here, and for various other things that he's done to help me in the last few years. And we miss him. And what his passing and his illness from cancer, he had cancer for 2 years. He was here with stage 4 cancer. What it's taught me is really the power of community, because I spent a long time at the Coronet Writers Lab kind of thinking that the other writers there were my rivals. They were the people, they were getting jobs and I wasn't getting a job, or I was vying for a job with them, and I sort of held back. And it was only when I realized that we're all in this together, and a good script will find a home, and it's our job to work together to make each other's scripts better, but also to just be there to support each other, because this sucks what we're trying to do. It's really hard, and the chances of success are pretty low. And even if you do get success, you might follow that with a drought and then more success. So the only thing we can kind of hang our hat on is that we can establish some relationships and stay in touch and come to things like this and be kind of involved in a community. And so Sean and his passing has really taught me that, because the writers from the Coronet Lab have come out of the woodwork, and it just made me realize that this is really important, what we do. So I'm extremely grateful that you're all here and that you're a part of this, and I hope you will continue to be. So, enough of the mushy stuff. Let's get on to the first script. The first script is by Jeff. Thank you.
Deadstone Tales, a horror anthology of weird Western tales by J. Jose LaGreca. Audio over black.
Somewhere west of the most brutal rivers, there is a dark hollow in the land known as the Deadstone Valley.
The sound of an explosion in a cave-in, men screaming. As the screaming dies down, fade up. Interior, an underground chamber in a caved-in mine. An open chamber, stenciled on a wooden beam, Shaft 13, blocked by rubble, mining equipment, and packs strewn about the area.
It can't be found on any map, for it exists only in the nightmare world between Deadwood, Tombstone, and Hell.
On the floor of the mine are the bodies of 3 miners, and sitting on a crate, holding a lamp, is Mr. Grafschender, a strange Western storyteller who speaks directly to the audience. He wears a mining helmet with a wide brim that obscures his eyes. His thin, beardless jaw is visible, the skin pale and wrinkled, as if he's disfigured or burned. His voice is a disturbing, mesmerizing rasp.
I've been everywhere. I suspect I could tell tales that would make your skin crawl.
He tilts his head. His eyes sit in deep hollows. There is a cold mischief to them.
Like this poor fella.
He gestures to the body of one miner. It is being devoured by carrion beetles.
These minuscule cuties are nothing to be alarmed about.
He picks up one of the insects, inspecting it as it dangles between his thumb and forefinger.
I've seen worse.
He gently places the beetle in the palm of his hand, then swiftly brings his fist down hard into it, crushing. Match cut to interior Hobart Hotel and Saloon, night. A whiskey glass comes down, cracking the shell of a peanut on a wooden saloon bar. Tucker, a slightly inebriated cowpuncher, removes the peanut from the shell and eats it, then swallows the rest of his drink. He pours another finger. Exterior, the Hobart Hotel and Saloon, night. A sign reads, Hobart Hotel and Saloon. It is a place that aspires to opulence, but falls short, as is evidenced by the boisterous activity coming from inside. Interior, Hobart Hotel and Saloon, evening. A mixture of rowdies, ranchers, and miners rub elbows, drink, and generally misbehave like a bunch of assholes.
The town of Santa Laranja had a pest problem.
Superimposed title, Tarlet Spider. The slightly inebriated Tucker approaches the bartender.
I gotta use the pisser.
The bartender, 48, a small ropey woman, points to a hand-stenciled sign on the side exit. Outhouse, out of order.
Privy's out of order. City ordinance says you got to go down to the river.
Nonsense.
The ranch hand pushes past the bartender and goes out the side door to use the outhouse.
Mister, I'm telling you, you may want to abide for your own safety.
Exterior, Hobart Hotel and Saloon, side alley, evening. A small outhouse sits in the muddy alley. It is dimly illuminated from within by a small hanging lantern. Tucker enters it. Interior, outhouse, evening. Once inside, Tucker lowers his breeches and sits down on the commode. A moment later, there is a jerk and a horrified and painful look on his face. Exterior, outhouse, evening. We hear his off-screen agonized screams from within. Outhouse, next day. The outhouse is messy with blood and gore. Greeley Hobart, 61. The hotel and saloon owner looks on as a crew cleans it up. He turns to Hayes, 45, his right-hand man, a burly, no-nonsense fellow.
We got us an infestation. Put the word out.
Exterior, on the trail. Day, a Pony Express typewriter barrels down the path. Montage of maps of different towns and cities. Deadwood, a set of hands hammers a poster to a pole. Tombstone, again, a poster to a pole. Dodge, poster, pole. Poster, needed. Able-bodied exterminator, $25. Interior, the Hobart Saloon, days later at night. The saloon is rowdy once again with troublemakers. Long Dick Stroudenmeyer, 39, a scary, haggard gunfighter, approaches the bartender. He has the humorless and indifferent look of someone who has done more than his fair share of killing. His voice, a stoic growl.
Pisser.
Mister, we recommend you go down to the river to do your business.
Beg your pardon?
City ordinance, sir, until we can deal with the infestation.
His cohort, a small man with a face like a potato, interrupts.
This here is Long Dick Strudenmeyer. He pisses wherever he wants.
Well, Sir, that may be, but
Long Dick Stroudenmeyer reaches far down into his pants and produces a pistol with the longest barrel ever seen. He aims it at the bartender's face.
You're keeping me from my bowel movements.
The bartender stares at the barrel in her face.
there's a catalog in there for wiping your ass.
Long Dick pushes out past her to the outhouse. Exterior, hotel and side alley, evening. Long Dick approaches the same outhouse as before. Interior, outhouse, evening. Point of view looking down into the hole. At the edges of the light, we see spider legs slowly step back into the dark. Interior, turlet, night. Spider's point of view from within the commode, looking up at the outhouse door through the turlet seat. The outhouse door is still closed. Back to interior outhouse, evening. Long Dick kicks the outhouse door open, causing the toilet lid to fall closed. Interior, turlet, night. Spider's point of view, looking up. Long Dick lifts the lid and peers into the darkness. Back to outhouse, evening. Long Dick sees nothing and pulls his pants to his ankles. He sits on the commode, beginning to read the catalog. Carefully, like he is uncoiling a rope, he lowers his penis between his legs. A quick series of cuts. Turlet, evening. Inside the commode, his penis dangles below his buttocks. It is impossibly long and almost reaches the filthy sawdust below, but not quite. Outhouse, evening. He peruses the cover of the catalog. Sausage and other cured meats. Turlet, evening. Spider legs begin to crawl slowly out of the darkness toward Long Dick's long-ass penis. Outhouse, evening. Long Dick looking at catalog illustrations of sausages being speared like sharp cooking forks. Interior, turlet, night. The spider, mostly hidden in shadow, as it gingerly approaches Long Dick's penis. It reaches its front legs toward the penis, brushing it lightly. Outhouse, evening. Long Dick reacts to something brushing against his member. He sits up alarmed, then shakes it off, trying to relax his bowels. Turlet, evening. The Long Dick begins to piss. The big spider's eyes grow angry. A hiss, and it rushes forward. Outhouse, evening. Off-screen, agonized shrieking of Long Dick Stoudenmeyer. Outhouse, evening. Long Dick is screaming in agony, but he cannot stand up. Something has a hold of his parts. Turlet, evening. The turlet spider, 1.5 feet long, sinks its fangs deep into the flesh of Long Dick's penis. Outhouse, evening. Long Dick's screaming becomes worse. He still cannot pull his penis out the hole. Turlet, evening. The turlet spider is shredding his penis in a mass of blood and gore. Outhouse, evening. Long Dick is screaming as he is pulled by his penis down into the hole. The wooden turlet seat cracks and gives way as he is yanked out of his boots down the hole. What is left of the turlet lid flops closed. Interior, Hobart Hotel office. Next day, Mr. Hobart is sitting at his desk. Hayes, his right-hand man, stands aside him.
Even the gunslingers ain't safe.
As they speak, 2 men enter carrying a shiny new porcelain commode. They pause, wondering where to take it.
In the master bedroom suite.
Holy, so it's true? You're getting biggity and putting in one of them newfangled indoor latrines?
Only in the master suite. I'd appreciate it if you kept it quiet for now.
Right, so what you want to do about...
He indicates Long Dick's boots.
Let's put up the bounty.
Montage, Deadwood, Tombstone Dodge, posters going up on poles. $1,000 reward. Able-bodied exterminator for dangerous job. A gloved hand reaches to the poster, takes it down, and rolls it up. Exterior, Hobart Hotel and Saloon, side alley, day. A lone figure approaches the outhouse. We never see higher than their knees. Their boots are memorable, black, worn, with silver spider web tips. The person enters the outhouse cautiously. One silver-tipped boot toe gingerly lifts the lid away. A gloved hand reaches in with the large serrated knife. The blade of the knife disappears inside the rim, and when it reappears, there is a white, sticky webbing attached to it. The figure exits. Exterior, main street of San Telaraina. Day. The sound of a cart being pulled, scraping of metal into the dirt. The spiderweb tip boots from before. We never get a good look at the boots owner, but we do see the reactions of the passerbys. The cart is loaded. The cart is loaded with weird equipment. The boots continue down the dusty street, dragging hoses and nozzles and pumps and blades past several establishments, including one called Lackey Brothers Feed and Supply. The boots stop in front of the Hobart Hotel and Saloon. Exterior, Hobart Hotel and Saloon, facade, day. A simple-minded young man, Jerome Lackey, 22, sitting on the porch, reacts with surprise and runs inside the saloon. Interior, Hobart Saloon Day. The young lackey approaches Mr. Hobart at a table.
Mr. Hobart, somebody answer to that.
Exterior, Hobart Hotel and Saloon facade day. Through the wide-footed stance of the figure, we see Mr. Hobart warily push through the swinging doors. He suspiciously eyes the person at the bottom of the steps.
You hear about the bug problem?
Hobart's view from the porch. Hobart looking down from the top. The figure's face is still hidden because of the angle and the wide brim of their hat. Their hair resembles a spider's web, straggly and matted. It is alternately streaked black and platinum blonde. The figure's clothing is a combination of mismatched Western wear and an exterminator's gear. They wear a black duster with purple and periwinkle trim and spiky protrusions subtly sewn into it. The bottom fringe of the jacket hangs out like arachnid legs. Instead of pistols, they wear copper squirt bottles in holsters. Slowly, the figure tilts their head up. It is probably a female's face. Probably. Her skin is pasty white under all the dirt. One front tooth is a spiky fang and offsets the opposite eye, which looks to the white like a cataract. To be white, her movements are jerky, spider-like. This is Aunt Nancy, 37, a Calamity Jane-like exterminator with a macabre Edgar Allan Poe vibe. She tosses the reward poster at his feet.
Mister, what you got here ain't no bug.
How so?
I've seen this before. Wiped out an entire village in Suriname.
We just need somebody to take care of our bug problem.
Mister, what you got here is Latrinus profano araneus.
She holds up the knife with the web goo stuck to the blade. A puzzled reaction from Hobart.
You got yourself a toilet spotter.
Who are you?
I'm a spotter killer.
But I don't believe I got your name.
Doesn't matter.
With incredible swiftness, she throws her knife seemingly right at Mr. Hobart. It whizzes past him and with perfect accuracy spears a large scorpion to the wooden porch beam, mere inches away from the hand of the lackey. He pulls his hand away with alarm.
I'm a spider killer.
So it would seem, but I can't even tell if she's a boy or a girl.
Mister, what you care about my pronouns? I've been all over the Americas, but you can just call me Aunt Nancy.
Well, Aunt Nancy, truth be told, we figured this was a man's job, but nevertheless, we might be interested in procuring your services.
He picks up the reward poster, $1,000 reward. Able-bodied exterminator for dangerous job.
As you can see...
We don't got a deal till we decide on terms.
Yes, well, per the final print, we can offer you a $780 reward to rid us of this menace.
In the background behind them, a stagecoach pulls up and a group of travelers disembark. One of them approaches the outhouse down the lane. Someone tries to stop him, but the traveler has to pee so bad that it pushes into the outhouse.
Mr. Hobart, I ain't stupid. And there ain't no reason you should be paying me 78% of what you would offer. A man ain't no reason.
In the background, the outhouse structure shakes and rattles. Mr. Hobart and Aunt Nancy take no notice throughout.
Well, yes, but as I said, the fine print stipulates...
Mr. Hobart, poster says $1,000.
Yes, be that as it may.
The outhouse shakes some more, and we hear screaming from within.
Mr. Hobart, you got yourself a species of arachnid that is so spiteful, there ain't no pest controller or cazador that'd go near it.
Something pounds the inside of the outhouse door. The traveler bursts out screaming, shredded and bloody with his pants to his ankles. He falls down in the dust, weeping. They both turn their heads slightly to observe the man, then back.
I want $2,000.
Okay.
I ain't done. Want my horse stabled and cared for. I want a chicken dinner and gunpowder whiskey, bought and paid for. And lastly, I want a room in your new hotel. And not just any room. I want the room with the new fancy indoor plumbing and toilet.
Oh, don't wait just a moment.
I already know about it.
At this moment, something reaches out from inside the outhouse and drags the traveler back inside. The door slams shut.
You got your terms.
Exterior, Hobart Hotel and Saloon Side Alley Day. Aunt Nancy is at her cart beside the outhouse, preparing her equipment and traps. Weird variations on bear traps and rat traps. Two men show up. One is Mr. Hobart's lackey. The other is his witless cousin, Sterl, 21.
Mr. Hobart said you might need some help.
I don't need no lackeys on my team.
Mr. Hobart insisted.
Lord, don't make no odds to me. You just do what I say, and maybe you won't get your body fluid sucked out your eyeballs.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your name?
Lackey. Jerome Lackey, ma'am. This here's my third cousin, Sterl Lackey.
Thank you for asking.
Lord, Lord, Lord. One of you is spider meat, and the other one can be witness to the carnage.
If you say so, ma'am.
Okay, now help me lug this gear.
Sterl lifts a tarp. There is a 2-foot spider under it.
Ah!
She rolls her eyes at him and picks it up. It is a dummy, legs made from twisted wire. She shows him the middle bottom where the word decoy is stenciled.
You ever been duck hunting?
She shakes her head and they squeeze through the outhouse door. Interior, outhouse day. She shines a lamp down into the goo.
Give me that spider clapper.
Sterl hands her a device that looks like a bizarre, jagged bear trap. She places a large sausage into it and lowers it into the hole. As she lowers the trap, she reaches for her harpoon against the wall. Unable to reach it, she leans further. Sterl, taking the rope from her.
Here, I'll take the...
No sooner is the rope in his hands than there is a terrible yank and he is pulled sideways into the turlet seat. His head whacks hard on the polished wood and his arm, holding the rope, disappears down into the darkness. Something is pulling him in. He begins to shriek.
No! Let go the rope!
Something's got my arm!
During the struggle, the walls of the outhouse are destroyed and fall away. Exterior, Hobart Hotel and Saloon Side Alley Day. The outhouse walls destroyed. The commode now sits in the open on a wooden platform. They manage to get Sterl up and away from the urinal. His arm is completely ripped off. Blood spurts everywhere. Aunt Nancy peers down into the commode hole. The spider menacingly looks back at her, preparing to leap through.
Help me with this.
The spider bucks the lid. She almost falls off.
Satchel!
Lackey grabs her bag and jumps into the lid with her. They are almost bucked off several times. She grabs 2 toilet clamps from her satchel and secures the lid closed. Closed. They can all breathe for a moment.
Oh my God.
But the floorboard cracks. An opening appears. The hole expands and something pulls Sterl down into the crevice. The wooden platform gives way, exposing a tunnel underneath as Aunt Nancy and Lackey leap to the side. The sound of Sterl screaming trails off as he is dragged down into the dark silence.
Sterl! What the fuck?
So that's how they get around.
Exterior, Hobart Hotel and Saloon Side Alley, dusk. Aunt Nancy and Lackey are standing at the edge of the hole, which is now the size of a wagon. A rope ladder descends into it. She wears a sack full of gear and carries a vintage bug sprayer with arachnocide stencil on it. Taking several sticks of TNT out of a box, Aunt Nancy places them in the pockets of her duster.
Straight to the big guns. We're gonna burn that psycho-arachnid.
Lackey is holding the decoy spider and a lantern. A vintage bug sprayer hangs from a strap around his shoulders.
I have an aversion to spider holes.
Sterl could still be alive down there.
Do you think?
Pushing him into the hole.
Yes.
She jumps in after.
No.
Interior, an underground tunnel. The tunnel lies below the outhouse and divides in several directions. They gather themselves up and pick a direction. Soon, spider webs form along the cavern walls containing carcasses of half-eaten dogs, cattle, and humans. The tunnel opens up into a larger space. There are skittering noises in the shadows. Interior, an underground chamber. The chamber is scattered with round cannonball-sized mud balls.
What's with the mud balls?
The toilet spotter shares commonalities with its distant cousin, the Scarabaeus beetle.
He picks up a mud ball, tossing it from hand to hand. She prods one with her foot.
Also known as the dung beetle. They roll piles of shit into round spheres and then hatch their babies in them.
The shock of this information causes him to squeeze the round ball too hard. It pops and shit splatters all over him.
That ain't mud.
He begins to retch and spit.
Latrinus profano is drawn to the privy because of the endless supply of fecal matter. Now, and that means this mama spider is getting ready to hatch some babies.
Let's just torch these then and get the hell gone.
An underground nook. The spider's point of view, it watches them from a recess, then withdraws into the shadows. Back to an underground cavern. Aunt Nancy catches a glimpse of its legs receding. She smiles cryptically.
Nah, we gotta draw her out first.
She removes and checks her pocket watch. The time reads 6:15. The same underground cavern, later. Match cut. The same pocket watch now reads 7:23. The chamber has been rigged with TNT and fuses. There are sticks of dynamite protruding out of several of the dung balls. Aunt Nancy is placing the finishing touches on the TNT bundle.
Okay, can we get now?
Not yet. She's probably got an escape tunnel somewhere. We gotta coax her into this room.
Pointing to the decoy spider Lackey is carrying, he gives it to her.
Most arachnids are solitary critters, but if their territory is being encroached upon by another female,
Placing the decoy spider on a nest of dung balls.
well, they lose all sense and come rampaging. Hormones and all.
Lackey nods and clutches his vintage bug sprayer tighter, as if it were a rifle. Suddenly, a strand of web shoots from somewhere in the dark, sticking to his hands and sprayer. He falls into the dirt and is being dragged toward the dark.
Oh, hell!
Aunt Nancy leaps on him, taking hold of his legs. The unseen spider continues to drag them both toward the dark tunnel with her knife. Aunt Nancy slashes through the strand, freeing them. Lackey pulls his revolver.
No!
She gestures to the dynamite that is present everywhere in the cave. A glob of web shoots from the dark, knocking Aunt Nancy off her feet. She slams headfirst into the floor and appears to be out, blood trickling from her mouth. At the edge of the light, the spider creeps slowly towards Lackey. He whimpers. This is the first time we get a good look at it. It is terrible, the color of dark obsidian, with purple and periwinkle markings. The fangs are sharp needles, and a razor-like mohawk runs the length of its back. It takes a small step forward, but from nowhere, Aunt Nancy, grasping a lit stick of dynamite, hurls herself upon its back. They struggle.
Run! I'm blowing it
In a
all!
frenzy, Lackey runs blindly away down a tunnel. Aunt Nancy screams echo behind him. Exterior, a cavern exit on edge of town, evening. Lackey bursts above ground through a different tunnel, somewhere on the edge of town. Then, an explosion below. He backs away and falls down as smoke and flames shoot up through the whole entrance. Lackey lets out a sigh of relief as he sits up, counting his blessings. Something approaches him from behind. It moves in close, then
Toilet spiders is hard to kill.
It is Aunt Nancy, dirty, distraught, and alive.
So am I.
She holds a charred spider carcass in her hand and drops it, smoking, to the earth. It lies on its back, shriveled legs to the sky.
You run along now and you tell Mr. Hobart I expect him to keep his word. Well, hell, there may even be some reward money in it for you.
Lackey gets to his feet and runs to tell Hobart the news. Interior, a bathroom in the master suite, Hobart Hotel later. Aunt Nancy is finishing up a bubble bath in a fine porcelain bathtub. On a side table sits a mostly eaten plate of chicken and a half bottle of gunpowder whiskey. She towels off, putting on a luxurious hotel robe. Before she exits the bathroom into her suite, she glances at the newfangled indoor toilet and closes the lid. Interior, the master suite, Hobart Hotel, evening. The room is luxurious by the time standards. Aunt Nancy lies down on the bed in her robe and closes her eyes, drowsing, content, and victorious. Beyond her, something moves the lid from inside the turlet. Then, another push from inside lifts the lid again. Several spider legs emerge, and then the tarlet spider pushes its way out and drops to the enamel floor. It looks back to the porcelain bowl, and soon it is followed by a baby spider, which is followed by another and another. Soon 100 baby spiders are slowly making their way to the drowsing Aunt Nancy. She opens her eyes suddenly. The mama spider and hundreds of baby turlet spiders are crawling all over her body and bed. She bolts upright. We think she is going to scream, but...
Oh, y'all did a fine job today. Fine job.
She pets the mama spider like a cat. It purrs and paws at something in her satchel. She removes the charred decoy spider.
Aw, we can make a new one when we get to Cheyenne.
The spider makes a questioning noise.
That's right. We going to Cheyenne. You know they got a Wells Fargo bank there. We can fetch 3 times the amount of what we got here.
The baby's chirping.
Oh, come here, little babies. Come to your Aunt Nancy.
They do, and she snuggles in with her spiders and goes to sleep. Fade out, fade up. Interior, the underground chamber, and a caved-in mine. We are back in the caved-in mine with Grafschender. The 3 corpses of miners have been propped up, seated on crates in upright positions, hands tied. Each has a burlap sack tied over their heads, with Moldexes drawn over where their eyes would be, and a bloody red mark that serves as a frown. Grafschender is seated next to them.
You're looking a bit brackish there, fellas. What's the matter? Don't care for bugs?
Suddenly, one of them bolts upright in panic. His cries are muffled as if he's been gagged underneath the material.
Oh, looks like one of you does.
Off screen, there is a muted sound of pickaxes and hammers, and then a cracking as rescue workers break through a wall.
Hello? Hello?
Interior, opposite wall and underground chamber of the cave-in. The opposite wall has been broken through by rescue workers. There is a hole and undefined shapes moving about. Light from headlamps can be seen as a rescue worker emerges. He slowly approaches the grotesque scene of the propped up corpses. Grafschender is nowhere to be seen.
What the hell?
He notices that one of the victims is still alive.
Hey, we got a survivor!
Another rescue worker rushes to his side, laying the miner to the floor and removing the burlap from his head. It is a gruesome sight. His eyes have been cut out and replaced with coal, but he is still alive.
Don't let... Shh. It's gonna be okay. We got you.
Whispers something unintelligible to the confused rescuers.
What'd he say? Gravesender?
Don't let him out.
Cut to exterior mine entrance. The entrance to the mine, a large opening propped up by wooden beams. A sign reads, Entrance Shaft 13. Western Pacific Mining Company. Several workers urgently move about, almost dreamlike, as Mr. Grafschender emerges. He nonchalantly makes his way out of the cave, mysteriously unnoticed by everyone around him. We follow him out past the perimeter workers. He removes the rescue helmet and replaces it with a very wide-brimmed hat. A diabolic smile crosses his face. Cut to black. The end.
You want to go first?
Sure. I love the world. It was so cool. Like, from the first line we were in, you pulled us into this amazing place and we all kind of went with you. And your descriptions kind of built out this place where I kind of wanted to check it out and visit it. And it was just like, I was like, oh, it's in the world of Deadwood and Tombstone. Like, this is amazing. I want to visit this place. I want to be a part of these characters. And the thing that I thought was kind of amazing was kind of your intro, the long dick. Like, basically you heard the audience come to life basically when he was introduced and when his lackey came in and he went to the outhouse, and I thought that was such a testament to your writing style, that you can pull people in and within a moment of like just introducing one character, and I thought that was phenomenal. What I loved so much, even more so, was like the Anansi spider mythology that you kind of pulled into it at the end, and I was like, oh, I didn't even pick it up until the actual end of the story, Anansi. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I've never heard of a woman being Anansi, the trickster spirit, the kind of idea of that. And I thought that was a great way to infuse mythology into a Western horror story. My questions kind of come through when I was like looking at the world, I was looking at the characters, and what I noticed is that some of the stakes were kind of under, with the comedy, sometimes with comedy, the way you need to be, sometimes with a lot of shows, unless it's a spoof, is like the poignancy of a story in a way, and the characters all, I realized the stakes in it with the characters kind of became a thing where I was like, oh, I don't feel the stakes as much because everyone kept going to the outhouse, and the town owners were like, yeah, we should put a sign over there, or like, we should tell them that, you know, like, oh, but don't go, you know, so there were moments where you were underselling the horror part of your story a little bit. And that's the part where I was like, oh, then I started looking at the characters and I realized they were kind of the similar character throughout the entire story. It's almost the same kind of tone, comedy, and even to the point with the lackeys. The best thing about lackeys in a way is the Laurel Hardy element to it, and the fact that they're so terrified and the antics. And so the lackeys went into the world without fear, even though they'd seen everybody get murdered. And that's the one thing I wanted, because like when you have stakes like that, then your audience can have a vested interest in the world you're building. Because once you start making it fun, then, you know, what's the journey that you're going on? And the thing is the anthology element of it, of like building out a world with different type of creatures and monsters coming out into it, to me I think is a great way to kind of build a universe. But if you want people to invest in a universe, you kind of want to feel the stakes of the world, so that you can play the funny and you can play the horror, but one doesn't take over the other. It's a balance. It's awesome. Does that work?
Yeah, that's great. I hated it. No, for me, it's interesting for me because I mark up the scripts. So because I don't have a lackey. So I actually have to look at the script many times as I'm marking different names. And what I noticed when I do that is there were a bunch of characters in there, a bunch of speaking parts that didn't contribute as much as they could have. Like, Hobart didn't really do a lot apart from agreeing to the deal. He didn't really show a lot of, like, there was potential there for him to show some sort of character that could, you know, feed into this whole world. Everybody's sort of like the bartender, the two guys who use the outhouse. The right-hand man has one line in this, and he just sort of sits there. And I don't know whether he was supposed to do more and then he kind of didn't in a later draft, but he was just sort of left hanging. And so as I was looking, it was like, wow, there are a bunch of people in this that really could almost add, again, I've just said I don't pitch, so I'm not going to pitch, but yes, I am. Something like, because there really was only one story, like there was one thing happened in that whole 30 minutes or 30 pages. And usually, apart from Grafschender, who's gross, but you know, there were opportunities there to maybe trim a little bit of because I don't know if you felt the room, but after Long Dick carked it, there was a little bit of a lull before Aunt Nancy came and got into it. And even when Aunt Nancy was doing her thing, there was a little bit of a lull until she got into the tunnel and she's going one-on-one with the spider. There was this sort of window there where the momentum sort of drained a little bit, and that's what I love about live reads, because you can feel it. And so that to me was like there's an opportunity there to bring in other stuff. Like Hobart might be like impatient, or he's got the mayor's coming and he's got to get this. I mean, who knows? But there are a bunch of opportunities for him to try and sort of fuck this up, or speed it up, or slow it down, or whatever it is that kind of gives you more about Nancy too. Like she has to do more than just, because she's then also chasing the spider on her own with one witness, just Lackey. And sort of everybody leaves her alone. There's no like bystanders don't come through. I mean, even the right-hand man could pop in, and like there just seems to be, you've created all these amazing characters and they're all in this amazing world. And I just think where you feel lulls gives you an opportunity to kind of throw in some other things that feed into that ultimate story. Because the story's great. And as I said to you outside, I mean, I got halfway through this and I was like, once you hit the tunnel, I'm like, I have no fucking idea where you're going with this, and I'm completely creeped out.
Yeah.
And then they blew up the spider. I was like, okay, phew. And then when the thing started coming through the toilet, I was like, oh, just no. I don't want. And then the baby spiders came out. I was like, I don't want any more of this. This is just gross. Then the other, and then you put the spin on it, which was awesome. The other comment I had was about Grafschender, because this is like a Tales from the Crypt, right? So he's going to be the guy introducing things. I felt this is just me. I felt a little bit disappointed that he got out of the mine. Like I wondered what his was there a reason? Does he need to leave the mine, or can he be in the mine for the entire series and he's really just introducing and then poking a corpse and saying, see you next week? I mean, it's like, or bringing someone else in. I don't like. I know you're going to have him roaming and doing more harm each week, so that might be fine, and I'll shut up. But I just after the amazing spin with Aunt Nancy cuddling her spiders, I didn't feel that I really needed to spend much time with him and have that horror. It didn't. The horror felt a bit devalued after everything that you just shown us. So I felt like once we're back in the mine, I was like, okay, yeah, there's nothing you can do now that's worse than the freaking spider that you've just shown me. So, and he didn't do anything worse. He just had 3 corpses with coal in their eyes. Yes, I know that's terrible for anybody who's died with coal in their eyes, and I'm sorry. But compared with the toilet spider, I was like, eh.
Do you think I can lose that completely?
Well, we'll see what. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I think I like the bookend of it, but you don't need the bodies. It's kind of like when the Crypt Master, he would just like, see you next week, and he would just do the whole. You just need him in a spooky, creepy place, and then looking at the bugs, and then kind of walking away, because he's kind of the idea that he opened the book. He had the dung beetle in the beginning, so you can close the book in some way.
Okay.
So that part, I feel like I agree with.
Just maybe give it a button.
Yeah. But it doesn't need to be a bigger piece. It doesn't need to. You don't need to launch the universe yet.
Okay.
You've already done that with the story.
Yeah, because I think it's great. Okay. Do you, Greg? Remember 2 minutes, Greg. 2 minutes. 2.
I thought the writing was lovely. It was almost like a horror version of Ballad of Buster Scruggs. What I felt was, you take a long time to say a lot that can be condensed, and I think the pacing. For something like this, we should see someone get sucked in. We should see the thing strike and not know what it is, and set up that mystery. You have 2 scenes where the handbills, and I think you really only need one, and bring in, our, exterminator, quicker, and give her more to do. So really build, because I love the reveal at the end. So really build. Kind of the rug pull, I'm on the fence about the graphic depiction of the penis murder, only because it felt a little gratuitous in that if the spiders specifically just attacked male genitalia, I would say fine, like that's what they're known for. But it kind of was, the spiders were more generic. So. And I feel that your Crypt Keeper, I think you need to begin with him and end with him, because, again, if this is a pilot, the people reading it are going to want to know, what's the series going to be? Is this the template for the series? And I think you can give him a little more insight into what this episode is about. That's what Rod Serling always did at the beginning. It's like, this is the theme of what it's going to be about. So I think you really have a great start. You have a very evocative world. I do also think you got a lot of characters in there. I think you could use up each storyline. What's at stake for this town? And I think it ends with, I was genuinely surprised when she brought all the spiders to her. To me, that's the end of your episode. Anything after is, it's a down. It's just a letdown. It's not as exciting, and I would bring our guy back in. So, but really original, really fun, really evocative. So I think you're off to a really good start.
I gave you 3 minutes. But, yes.
I love all the visual elements in it. Like, there's so much just wonderful, like, visual props and gags and places. And I was actually really disappointed that you didn't use more of them in more visceral or more like, I have to use this particular thing because. And a lot of times I felt like I would almost be like looking around the set being like, oh, what about this thing? Or what about that thing? And then just speaking about the visual element, unlike I think a lot of people, I thought you tipped your hand way too early about Aunt Nancy controlling the spiders because of the visual elements. The fact that she's wearing the blue and purple coat, and then as soon as you reveal the spider has blue and purple markings. Yeah. And so immediately when you did that, I was like, oh, well, okay, she's obviously controlling it. Now, I don't think a lot of people would notice that.
I didn't.
No.
Because I'm a crazy person?
No, you're clearly you know more than, yeah.
So because I did get that kind of tip off to me, I didn't feel as much danger for Nancy. I didn't feel like it was almost like, I'm gonna, get this one lackey out of my way and everyone's gonna believe me, I'm gonna have my $2,000, it's gonna be great. But so it's like, for me, like the air kind of went out of it and I didn't feel the punch as much at the end, even though I really liked that punch.
All right,
Thank
very
you.
good.
Thank you.
Yes, certainly.
First, I just want to say I love the penis murder. I was really grossed out, but also like, this is awesome. I can't believe you did that. But my question is this an anthology series where the Crypt Keeper is going to give us like a different story within the world each week?
Yeah.
Or it is? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, then my other question isn't a question. Cool.
Very good, thank you. Yes.
Hi. First of all, I found it so stylish and funny, and the writing just had such voice, and that really did draw me in right away, as you've already been complimented on. But and I know I'm not supposed to pitch that it should be a musical, but it really is. When we get to the end and the big reveal that she's actually in on this with the spiders, the story that you're telling is con artist comes to town. It's the Music Man with killer penis-eating spiders. So given that that's really the story you're telling, I'm wondering if some of the notes that you're hearing about giving the other characters more to do are a signal that she needs an adversary. Maybe there's somebody in this world who is suspicious. And because what happens is that we get to the end and it's all a fake out. Everything we've seen was just BS. And it's a little bit like, oh, and then at the end they woke up and it was just a dream. And that's never the most satisfying story, right, to get to the end of. So I wonder if there's some way that the con artist comes to town and almost gets caught but then doesn't is really the shape of this.
She could also, now we're madly pitching, she could also raise the stakes halfway through, be like, oh, this toilet spider is way worse than anything I've seen, I'm going to need $4,000.
Yeah.
And we're like, because she faces death. You can mess around. You have so much, you have such a playing field because you've done so. Okay, one more if anybody has anything, otherwise we can move on. No? All right, very good. Do you have anything, what did you think listening to it?
Oh, it was great to hear it spoken out loud. It's great to hear certain dialogue that you think, oh, that's going to be funny, or that might, and just to hear it. So thank you all. I think the actors did a wonderful job. Yeah, and this is all good. This is all such good stuff to go stick in my hat and think about and try to see how I can finesse it even more. I love the idea of stakes, and I think that really resonates in terms of, it reminds me of Jaws,
That's exactly what I was
the
thinking.
mayor, and that there's a bigger reason why. And I think there's a hint of it maybe in that Hobart wants his hotel to get past these roughnecks and trying to get to the new West, which, is when everybody's spending their gold. I think that's the idea. So I think that's just such a very helpful thing that I can really,
Awesome. I actually watched Jaws on TV for the first time last night.
First time?
First time, I'd never seen it all the way through. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Now I have.
No shaming, no shaming.
No,
It's
no
okay.
shaming. That shark is hilarious. Yeah.
isn't it? It's so good.
This is great. Anyway, sorry, that's in the subject. So thank you so much for entering, and congratulations. So, Jeff.